We could get into the kids, and I mean, I honestly feel like the kids' directions could go anywhere. You know,
Yeah.
I think you have your core group that will continue to get along. Like, I don't see Dimitri and Hawk going back to being enemies again. I don't see
No.
Miguel and Robbie going back to being enemies again. I think it's really going to be how they integrate with the Cobra Kai kids post last season's
Yeah.
ending. I think that's where the conflicts are going to be. Within them, I really don't see too much happening.
Yeah, at this point, I think that the resolutions that we saw are going to remain that way. Like,
Yeah.
so I mean, the story has to develop by, introducing another antagonist or one of the existing ones doing something.
Mhm.
What is that going to be? Um, I don't really know at this point. I know this is a predictions episode, but that's one prediction I can't make because it's just like I feel like this show's been really good at keeping us on our toes. So I mean, I guess the first thing is like, I wonder what other like old characters would they bring back because that's been a thing for this show.
Well, there's only a couple I can think of. If you remember Allie's judgmental friend from the first movie,
Hmm.
the he must be into fungus girl. We have not seen her. There's one member of Cobra Kai that's in jail
Hmm.
in this universe, so we haven't seen him.
Yeah.
I think that's really it from the
Yeah.
movies. The only other possibility, which I do have on my list as a question mark, is does Hilary Swank, who is part of the Miyagi universe, does she make an appearance? My
Very
prediction,
interesting. Yeah.
my prediction for this is that she is somehow involved. I don't know whether she'll be a judge or a referee or something at the Saikai Taikai. I think she'll be, if she's going to be in it anywhere, I think she'll be there.
I mean, that's very interesting because technically, yeah, I mean, she was in one of the movies with Pat Morita, so I mean, that would be, and I don't think I've ever seen it. So I mean, yeah, you're right. It is technically part of that universe.
Right.
So, I mean, she's a pretty well-known name. I mean, the show has been pretty good at getting the well-known and not so well-known pulled back into the show.
Mhm.
That's a pretty good, I would put some money on that one. I would say that's a pretty good prediction for that because I mean, with the show ending, you have to have some kind of, I mean, it's not like, the first season when Kreese came walking out of the shadows. You can't,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
like, there's no way that you could have anything that effective or that mind blowing happen at this
Mhm.
point.
It's more
So,
going to be like, oh, cool, Hilary Swank's here.
right. Or the other thing, conversely, is that they invent a new villain. They have a new antagonist or some like they work something up because I mean they came in the other seasons and they had like Devin Lee and Kenny, right?
Mhm.
This is like they just kind of showed up and they built them up to be like the new um the kind of new rivals, right? So
Right.
it's like
Yeah.
and then
I hope they don't, though. I'll be fair and say I hope they don't, because I think we have
yeah,
enough antagonists at this point. Because
yeah,
we've still got Kyler, Kenny's a question mark, Devin Lee's a question mark, Tori's a question mark. Although I think because she and Robbie are together, I really think she's going to join Miyagi Do. But we've also got Kim Daeun, we've got Kreese, we've got Silver. They're all on the board. Like, we're chock full of antagonists in this show.
yeah. So I mean, I guess I would like to see instead of them in the last season introducing any new characters or any rivals or any storylines like that. This is just like doing a twist or something. Like, do they develop and have like Kyler's character start something up? Right,
Mhm.
like these characters that maybe a bit in the background, like even when they did with Anthony, right? He was just like
Yeah.
this slob kid that was sitting on the couch and he'd be like very entitled and like
Mhm.
playing video games all the time and then all of a sudden he just popped up into being in the storylines.
Right.
So I think that would be something that would be more interesting for this
I
is
would
just to
agree.
like have the existing characters developing them or putting them in storylines or having like some kind of twist or interactions between people that maybe hadn't had them before and
Mhm.
developing something that way because I mean at this point in the game, it's like, what are we going to have, like another rival Japanese karate thing come flying in and challenging them or whatever? And it's like, I don't have the bandwidth to like accept new characters at this point.
Well,
Like,
we do still have a lot of people on the board. We've got all of the senseis that Silver brought in. I mean, some have less fingers now, but we've got all of them. We've got all the kids from Cobra Kai. We've got all the kids from Miyagi-Do. We've got
true.
the other kids at school that were Anthony's, kids that he was hanging out with. And there's already so many people on the board that it really, I think it's a matter of repositioning them to make it more interesting.
Yes, yes, I think that's a good way of putting is repositioning, right?
Yeah.
Maybe having it would be nice to have like a couple of more episodes in there where nothing really happens. Maybe there's just some character development, or maybe like I'm trying to think of like
I think you'll need that though, because if you are going to reposition, I think you'll need time to set up the board, so to speak.
like everything doesn't need to be a conflict or something pushing the story forward. Like, I mean, if they're
Right.
going to have whatever 15 plus episodes, I think that you could spare like one or two episodes out of there to like have like a dream sequence, or I don't know,
Yeah.
something like that, where it's you slow down a little bit, yeah, and develop maybe the characters a little bit rather than pushing the story forward, because at this point you have, like you said, you have so many characters up on the board, basically everybody that's important or influential from the original to like the current. What more can you do?
And because I can't imagine a scenario where Hawk would go back to Cobra Kai or anything
Yeah.
like that, I think those players are in position. So now it's how do we make everybody else interesting or cause the drama? And you think about it, like 10 episodes a season, look how much they've crammed into every single episode. They
Yeah.
feel like they're an hour long and they're 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah, that's pretty
amazing how
wild. Yeah.
much has happened in those seasons. So yeah, I agree. I think they could let it breathe a little bit more and just have some natural progression and maybe give us a false sense of security too.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be I mean that's what like the element of surprise is based on, right? So
Mhm. So last two things I think that we need to deal with.
mhm.
Obviously, Johnny and Daniel I want to see where we think they're going and how it all ends. But I think the other biggest question is who is fighting who? Because you've got Miyagi Fang versus Cobra Kai. Somehow the Saikai Taikai has to end up that way because the show's Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai can't be gone. So I think we're on the right track with Kreese somehow gets with Kim Dae-un. They get Cobra Kai back together, and that rivalry still exists. Now it's just a matter of who's on what team. Since people lost trust in Silver, how many people defect over to Miyagi-Do? How does that all play out? But you still have now Kreese is going to want to get back at Silver for putting him in jail in the first place. Johnny never really got a crack at Silver like he wanted to for ambushing him at the dojo.
Right.
So I feel like there's still a lot of major dynamic battles that are still open to who's fighting who at the end of all of this.
Right. Right. I mean, you did bring up what we forgot is that Silver was exposed and presumably brought to jail, right? But
I
like what
don't
I
think he'll
said,
spend more than a night in jail, to be
well,
honest.
that's what I said. That well, first of all, like what actual crime did he commit?
I think,
I mean, I know he committed a crime, but I mean, was there anything in there that's going to keep him like in prison, like for
yeah,
years and
I
years?
was really back and forth on that because yes, I think the only thing that they can really get him on because they can't really arrest him for cheating at a tournament. I mean, you don't go to jail for stuff like that. But the false imprisonment of Kreese, that would be
Right,
the one thing in falsifying the investigation by making Stingray lie. Like that's the stuff that I think he's really up on charges for because I don't think anything else would be legally enforceable. I mean, morality is not always equal to being against the law.
right. So I mean, I agree with you that he, he won't spend a lot of time in jail, like, or if any. And like I said before, he has such means that he probably has the police department, the judge, whatever in his back pocket. He'll be out. So I think the thing is that if Cobra Kai does continue, it probably will be with him. Like he'll probably, I mean, he's still got the name, the rights, the studio. I mean, that hasn't gone away, right?
Right.
But he lost all, like most, if not all, of his students. So I think the question is like, okay, so maybe the next season you see that he's out and he's just like, they got nothing on me, and so now he's got to regroup and figure out, how do I keep this going? How do I rebuild? And there's got to be some faction of students, whether they're existing ones or new ones. And maybe there were a couple of existing ones, which may be background characters, are like, you know what? I don't care. I don't care that you cheated or that you framed
Yeah.
somebody. I'm with
Right.
you, because you
Mhm.
always have those.
Oh,
And
sure.
and
Yeah.
and maybe from that one or two, like loyal core of people, he'll build he'll rebuild with like new, students, and maybe that's how it keeps going, and that's, how the rival continues. And then all of the old characters that you said defected back to Miyagi, like those are the opposition to
Mhm.
Silver.
And we
And
don't know when the tournament is, to be fair. We don't know how far away it is. So he could
right.
have time to get new students together, get them up to speed.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that they were trained fighters. So going into the world's biggest karate tournament, you've got to be good. I mean, you were good enough to get in there. So if he goes in there with a different bunch of kids, they're going to go, wait a minute, where are the kids that we watched, in your demonstration?
Right. Right.
So there's so many things at play, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about heading into this final season is I don't feel like I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, me neither. And I mean that's a great thing about it. I want to know. I
Yeah,
want them to show me.
but speaking of open-ended things, we do have a couple with Johnny. I mean, obviously the baby is a big thing, and I'm sure that he and Carmen are going to be fine. Whatever happens, I'm sure they'll be okay. That they'll have the baby, but they kind of dangled this carrot with Miguel going after his dad and asking Johnny, have you ever thought about, going to find out, going to find your dad? And he's like, oh, I don't know what I would ask. And they kind of did the same thing, right? They left that a little bit open. That has to get resolved
All
because they
right,
left it
true.
open. I feel like they have to resolve that somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah, I forgot about that one. You had mentioned it before. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, that could be kind of closure in John in one, pieces of Johnny's story, because he's starting a family,
Yeah.
or a new family, and maybe, that would be part of him kind of resolving his the questions in his life,
Mhm.
as he's, embarking on being a new dad, and everything like that, and really growing up from like the first season until now, getting his shit together. Is like finally maybe tying up those loose ends with his own family.
Yeah, I just feel like they dangled that strongly enough. Like that was a pretty important conversation that he and Miguel had,
Yeah.
and then Miguel taking the action to go, find his dad and how. And I mean, there's another kind of thing: is does his dad find out that that was his son and come to America and get involved? Like that's another thing that could happen. Although I feel like that storyline has run its course.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that's done. They put that one to bed, I think.
I feel like they did. I kind of don't want them to bring that back up again. I think that would be a waste of time.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
So let's get the last two predictions. So for Johnny, and obviously I think he and Carmen, I don't know if they'll actually do like the wedding ceremony on the show or anything, but I think that all will end well with them would be my thing.
Mhm.
Daniel. So there were two kind of dangles for Daniel. One was he had said at one point when he first started Miyagi-Do and he didn't feel like he was doing very well balancing the time at the dealership and losing Anush and then doing a good job training the kids, didn't feel like he was living up to Mr. Miyagi's legacy. He said something like, I hope one day my picture will be up on this wall next to yours.
Hmm.
And I think that will be one of the last things that happens. I think his picture will go on the wall next to Miyagi as a successful sensei.
Hmm. But would his picture have to go on the wall? Like, in order for his picture to go on the wall, would he have to die?
Oh,
Would that be predicting his death?
that could be. But okay, so there's a side thing we haven't talked about that's coming out, I think, in January or February. Um, who is it that was in the Karate Kid movie with Jaden? Was it
Oh boy, I don't know.
the martial artist? It wasn't Jet Li. It was oh, I can't think of his name now. Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
So Jackie Chan is reprising his role from that movie with Daniel LaRusso, and they're in a movie together. So they're joining those universes. So will they do something in Cobra Kai that puts those two things together?
Hmm. All right. That I wasn't aware of.
Will he be at the Saikai Taikai? Maybe that's how they meet. I don't know. But I have a feeling
Interesting.
that there may be something to set that movie up as a crossover in the
Hmm.
series.
Very interesting.
So I don't want to predict that Daniel will die only because we know that that movie is coming out. Now, whether that movie could be, hey, this happened 10 years ago, I don't know.
Yeah. Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
but that is another thing. And then, of course, that opens the door for Jaden to be a part of it somewhere as well. I have not heard anything on whether there's any interaction from them or Hillary Swank, to be fair. But that would be a potential possibility. So,
Hmm.
so the last question I have, actually two. I'm sorry, there's two more. Does the song "You're the Best" finally make it into this fucking series?
Has it not?
It has not.
Huh. Why did I think it was?
It has not. They had the Carrie Underwood song that was similar. It had like a similar theme and similar energy.
Yeah.
But "You're the Best" has never played in the show. And I think they're saving it for the end.
I hope so. Because that's one of the coolest that's one of the coolest songs that there is
It is.
from the show. I mean, they did like in the one thing that I really liked was is when they went to if I can remember right, the first season they went to golf and stuff,
Hmm.
and it all looked the same, and they used the same song over the
Right.
montage of them on their first date, and I thought that was so sweet, and that was
Yeah.
so like such a great tribute to the first movie and so
Hmm.
nostalgic. And then you know what, I never realized that they never used "You're the Best" in this series, and it's like I really hope that there's no issues in them being able to use it. Like, even if it's like the
Yeah,
ending credits or something like that, it would be it would put a nice bow on things.
I think it would. So, what do you think the ending is going to be for the whole shebang? What's the last scene?
Oh boy, that's I don't know. That's too tough. I mean, we pretty much established that this could go anywhere. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think I'm confident in anything.
Okay,
In
that's fair.
saying anything. Um, And even when I was talking before about what would let's put it this way, what would I like to see? Would I like
Okay.
to see a wrapped up ending, or would I like to see an open-ended ending? I feel like they would do the ending open-ended.
Okay.
Like no real resolution, no closure, because I feel like that's how this universe operates. They want you to feel like it never ends. And then of course it leaves the door open to sequels, crossovers, what have you. So
Yeah.
what's gonna happen? I don't know. But if it's like I guess in a more broad sense, like I feel like I'm putting my money on the no closure thing.
Okay. I'll
Like
go with that.
ultimately. Like I
Yeah.
think that there would be a closure, but no
Mhm.
closure.
I gotcha. I think I know exactly what the ending has to be. I
Okay.
don't think it can be anything else because they've had too many things that have led up to this. They had Johnny and Daniel fight, but the fight ended in a tie. right? So they didn't have a winner. They had references to Rocky 3. They've done Rocky 3 style montages. It has to be the Rocky 3 ending. It has to be Daniel and Johnny throwing that first punch, and it'll freeze frame on them, and they'll play You're the Best. And that'll be the end of the show.
Wow. Well, it'll be interesting to see what would get them to that point.
They've talked about it. Actually, they talked about it a couple of times when they had when Johnny gave, or when Daniel gave Johnny the car, and they had that day when they went to the bar and they went to Daniel's old apartment and all that. When they got back, they were joking about having that one-time fight, and that
Mhm.
was when they walked into the dojo and Johnny found out that Daniel had been teaching Robbie, and
Mhm.
so that ended that. Then when they were teaching together and they were in the bar right after Silver reappeared, that was how they were going to decide who was going to take over the students, right? And that's when they had the fight on the sparring deck, and they ended in a tie. So
Mhm.
they've led up to that. Then when leading up to that, Miguel came to Johnny, and Johnny is like, I'm not talking to him anymore. It's over. And he's like, what about Rocky 3? Apollo had to be the bigger guy and go to Rocky. So they've had so many references on top of the fighting montages that you would have
Mhm.
Rocky style. I feel like it's got to be the ending. I think they've been setting this up since the beginning.
Okay. I mean, I think that that's for someone that's paid a lot more attention to the details than I have, which you have. I think that's um, a pretty fair assumption. Like
Yeah.
mine, I think would is more what do you call it? A little more broad, but that's just
Mhm.
because I mean I know I've watched the show like more like if the seasons multiple times, but I feel like you've really dug into it more. You've noticed a lot more than I have. So I think that your specific assessment of it is would be um that's like that's a good thing for us to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they end it. I know I'm going to be bummed that it's over, because I find it hard to find things that I really enjoy and can get into. I find a lot of stuff just, it's either too comedic and it doesn't interest me, or it's trying to be too smart and it doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
And it sucks when you finally find something good and you're like, oh, finally. And then, when you get to that point where like, well, it's the final season and you're like, but I'd like this show so much,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
tough.
Well, that's when you go back and you watch it all over again.
That's right. That's right. And so I don't know when the second half of the final season is supposed to air. I just know that July 18th is the beginning of the new season. So be curious to see how close we are or how far off we are and where it goes. Because honestly, they've got so much to work with. I
Yeah.
feel like they probably spent a lot of time in the writer's room really plotting out, okay, if we do it this way, where does it go? If we do it that way, where does it go? And just pitting all these people against each other to see how it would play out, because you've just got way too many balls in the air.
Yeah. Let's yeah, let's see. Let's see how it works out. That's
That
all
we
I can
will.
say.
Well, folks, you can hear more John Mottola not only on all the episodes that you've appeared on my show, but you can find him on the Deep Purple podcast. New episodes come out every Sunday night. They're usually kind of like not at the exact same time. Well, at least I get the notifications at different times, but it's always Sunday night. Always a great episode, whether it's a shorter episode like they're doing for the summer, or one of the 2-hour episodes, or a live stream. If you're a patron, you get access to the live episodes that they record, usually like a concert or something like that, and you can be part of the fun chat. And check that out at the Deep Purple podcast. The links are in the show notes. John, thanks so much, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it always is. It's always so much fun to sit here and talk about different things, just all different topics. This one really got me going. I really feel like my brain was stimulated with this one. So
Yeah, you had
thank
a
you
lot
for
of great
that.
input. And you know
Yeah.
what's going to be weird? I just thought about this. I had a friend who speaks a lot of languages, and we met over the internet, over MySpace. So this is like 172 years ago. And we used to Google chat back and forth, and sometimes she would start speaking in another language, and I'd have to go like copy that and go to like a translator. And and figure out what she was saying. And the first time I met her in person, I'm like, how the hell am I going to talk to her without a laptop? So I'm thinking about like when you and Nate and I and Rich meet up, it's like, how are we going to have conversations without it being recorded? That's going to be really weird because this will be
I
the first
know.
time we're not actually airing our experiences together.
I know. We're actually have to like talk to each other and be like, yeah, later on, this isn't going to be played back for other people.
It's going to
Yeah.
be fun, but I am really looking forward to meeting you and Nate, and of course seeing Rich again because Rich, I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Rich a couple times now, and
Mhm.
man, I'm looking forward to seeing Deep Purple a couple of times, and yes, opening on both shows, so that should be a lot of fun. I got to see Yes here in Vegas, along
Mhm.
with the Emerson Lake and Palmer Legacy Band with Arthur Brown singing. Also, Asia played that night, John Lodge and the Moody Blues. And I want to say there was something else. I can't think of what it was, but it was a fantastic show all the way around. Steve Howe's amazing. It's getting to see them as an opening band is going to be a nice treat.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know much about them outside of the hits, but
Yeah.
they brought other they brought other kind of like bands from the same era, or they've been on the same bill with bands from the same era. So it's been like it's been mixed. It's been kind of a mixed bag, but the one constant is how good Deep Purple is, and really that's why we're going at the end of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is my first time seeing them with Simon McBride, so
Mm,
I'll be curious. I mean, I've heard a little bit. I don't listen to a lot of live clips, but I've
yeah.
heard him a little bit, and obviously on the songs that they've released, and I like his sound. I like what I've heard from him so far, so I'm sure
Yep.
it'll be a great show. The thing is, they're not going to hire somebody that isn't up to their caliber.
Right.
They're not going to go, well, we just need somebody. No, it's got to be somebody that can play at their level, that has a personality that's going to contribute to the band. So, much like when Steve Morse joined the band, I trust their judgment, and I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
And the other nice thing is we'll actually have the album for a good month before the show, so we'll be able to get used to the new songs and for whatever they play on stage,
Hmm.
and that'll be nice too. Instead of going to the show and hearing songs we don't know,
Yeah.
we'll be at least have a month to get familiar with it.
That's true. I almost forgot about that. The album is going to come out, full album, before we see the show, so that'll be good. We'll have more of a we'll recognize any of the new tracks they throw on the set. So
Wait a minute, isn't it coming out July 18th?
yes.
That's the same day that Cobra Kai comes out.
Oh boy, that's going to be a busy day for me.
I got to talk to somebody's agent because that doesn't work for me.
Is it 18? No, 19th.
Oh, the 19th. Okay. Oh, so I'll have time to watch the entire season of Cobra Kai before. Well, I probably won't get my album for like 3 days after the release date anyway, because I ordered the deluxe package from Amazon.
Hmm.
So yeah, who knows when that'll actually arrive? I think they're not shipping it until the 19th. So it'll be a couple of days after that, at least by the time that I get it. But yeah, lots of great stuff coming up to look forward to. And John, thanks so much for coming back to the show. We'll have to do another album or something here before too much longer.
Oh
Get
yeah,
your
we'll
numbers up
figure.
to compete with Rich.
Well, yeah, we'll figure something out. Well, it's either that or do like one show and just make it longer than his, so my episodes split up will surpass his.
Well, so far 6 is the record, so we've got to go more than 6.
Oh boy.
We can do it.
Well, yeah, I'm sure we like to just keep talking. So
That we do. Well, thank you, my friend. You take care. Have a great day, and we'll see you
thank you.
guys on the next episode of the Haskin Cast podcast. Cheers.